Hello everyone. Thursday night, 8:30 or so, January the 11th. I'm Alan Holt, Chief Meteorologist, KIII TV3 in Corpus Christi. We're going to be doing a live discussion here again. We've got some impactful weather headed our way, really starting tomorrow, Friday. And then we've got this Arctic air that's going to be moving in over the weekend, and there are some updates and some changes that we need to discuss moving forward because it does alter the forecast just a little bit, and we're still ingesting some of this newer high-resolution forecast modeling, and we're going to have to decipher what to expect. So we'll be doing some of that here live on our streaming services, Facebook, wherever you're watching it from. Welcome. And again, it's just about to be, it's 8:34 right now, Thursday, January the 11th. And we're going to be talking about our forecast moving forward. Today, warm for early January. We were 10 degrees above average, had a high of 77. Normal high for the date, 67. Traditionally, this is one of the coldest parts of the year in Corpus Christi. A little bit milder than average this morning with that 54-degree morning low. Our first of two cold fronts that we've got headed our way is already into West Texas, passing through San Angelo right now. There are some snow showers up in the Panhandle, a little bit of light rain also in the southern parts of the Panhandle. And again, we're seeing this front head our way. It's not going to really produce a lot of rain for us. What it will do is the big headline for tomorrow is drive up the wind speeds. It's going to be a very windy day of weather in the coastal bend tomorrow behind this front. It should pass through Corpus Christi around 3 o'clock in the morning Friday, so before the sun comes up. And behind it, winds will be sustained anywhere from 20 to 35 miles per hour. And this chart just shows on the hour every 2 hours. You see a gust up around 49 miles per hour around 9 in the morning. In between these time frames, it's going to be possible that winds gust as high as 50 to 55 miles per hour. And that's primarily going to be during the morning hours of Friday morning. So that's going to be the time frame where the strongest winds are, a little bit less in the afternoon. You look at the right side of the graphic, down to 10 to 15 by 5 p.m. So evening time tomorrow, winds are going to start to lighten up. And that's why the wind advisory for tomorrow only goes to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So everyone's involved in this. It's going to be windy across the area, and that's going to be the main story for tomorrow. It's going to affect everybody. We've got the gale warnings. These will be in effect for area bays and nearshore Gulf waters until 4 p.m. Not the best day to be out on the water. And then with these dry northwesterly winds coming in, a red flag warning, or now fire weather warning. That's been kind of interchangeable over the last few years. But this is in essence to say that if a fire gets going because of the winds and the somewhat dry vegetation, the spreading of said fire can happen very rapidly and they can get out of control, especially in brushy areas. So, you want to be mindful of that. No outdoor burning. Maybe if you're on a ranch, it's not the best day to do something like that. And these winds are going to rival the winds that we had earlier in the week with that front that came through and knocked the power out in some locations. Right now, it's 68, kind of murky looking outside. We did have some fog this morning, but we're not going to see the same level of fog heading into overnight tonight and into tomorrow because the wind is going to be breezy enough to keep the atmosphere mixed up. It's out of the south right now, 17 miles per hour or so, and it'll stay that way overnight. Cold front is going to come through again around 3 in the morning. You see how the winds pick up on this chart after that, and they're out of the northwest, and temperatures drop off a little bit more. So in the 60s through about 3 in the morning, and then we're going to see those temps into the 50s by the time we get into the sunrise time frame of Friday. This is how our in-house modeling plays it all out. Cold front, again, approaches. A few isolated showers, mainly near the coast. It's not going to be rain-oriented, this cold front. The big thing is going to be the wind, and the winds pick up pretty quickly behind it. By 7 in the morning tomorrow, northwest wind, 25 miles per hour, and that's going to be gusting up 40 to 50, maybe as high as 55 miles per hour. So a windy and cool start to Friday. It's going to stay breezy all day long, and temperatures will stay in the mid-60s here on Friday afternoon. Winds settling just a little bit by 4, 5, 6 o'clock, but still breezy outside and very low humidity. That's why that fire weather concern is extra high tomorrow. Not only that, with the winds being elevated, if there's a weak tree, something, falls down onto a power line, it's possible that we catch some isolated power outages. So that's kind of par for the course with respect to 50 to 55 mile per hour winds. There's really nothing we can do about that. And just for some perspective, that would be a mid-grade tropical storm, not low end. We're talking mid-level tropical storm force winds in the forecast behind this front tomorrow. So this is going to be a strong one with respect to how strong the winds are going to be. And then after that, it's time to start talking about the Arctic air mass, and there are some changes to this. Before we get going on the Arctic stuff, I'm going to post a link on this chat, so bear with me on the Facebook Live. If you want more material like this, where it's kind of off the cuff, we're just chatting real time, really unscripted, we can go on as long as we want. I encourage you to follow our YouTube channel. I'm going to post the link in the comments here, so bear with me. It'll show up as a Channel 3 comment. You can hear the mic on. I'm watching the video too. So that's the link to our YouTube channel if you want to follow along. Not only me doing this, but our morning meteorologist, Carly Smith, also does a fantastic job. She does it a lot more regularly than I do. I try to save it for the bigger events just so we don't get in this routine of having it every single day when the weather's quiet. But when we've got big stuff, I want everyone to be as prepared as possible. And that's really what we're in the business of doing here. So the Arctic air coming in, the big shift in the data, we talked about this last night, is that now we're starting to get into the realm of higher resolution data, and the modeling, it has a better handle on what's happening near the surface. And with this massive, very dense cold air, that's where a lot of the timing is going to be derived from, what's happening at the surface level. So now that we're starting to get into these higher resolution models, it does look like the trend is to be much quicker. Now, maybe as early as Sunday, early in the morning. I've got this set at midday Sunday, but you see the trend on it, it's earlier. So we're looking at a weekend arrival now for this Arctic air mass. For planning purposes, to be safe, just have them done and ready to go by Saturday, with this trend being much, much earlier. Temperature-wise, we do have some freezes in the forecast. The colder days are going to be Monday night, Tuesday morning, and then again Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. With the earlier arrival, it is now possible that we introduce a light freeze on Monday morning, Martin Luther King Day. So that's a little change as well, given the earlier arrival. And we do have some rain chances both Sunday, Monday, and maybe an outside chance Tuesday. Not ready to go fully on board with that chance yet, but it's going to be quite the forecast moving forward. So we're going to dive into the nitty-gritty now, kind of breeze through this, no pun intended, on the wind for Friday morning. That front comes through, winds pick up. Fire weather concerns also rise on Friday with these wind gusts, 50 to 55 miles per hour, mid-60s Friday afternoon, elevated fire danger. And want to pause on this part of the forecast modeling, because the system that's going to drop this front down here is way up in the plains at this point, Friday afternoon. So less than 24 hours from now, it's going to be working through places like Denver. That's the Arctic air mass. The system that moves through tomorrow morning, you see it off on the east side of the country over the Midwest, the Great Lakes, and then the front stemming down into the panhandle of Florida. That low moving counterclockwise, it's why that system is going to bring a lot of wind here, but that spin is also going to help further the speed of the Arctic air. You see how the arrows around the low are rotating, and that's going to help pull the Arctic air mass southward. Typically cold, dense air moves quickly anyway. That's going to speed it up, and I think that's why we're seeing this big shift in the earlier arrival time this weekend. So this is Saturday now. We get a sunny delight. Saturday is going to be a phenomenal day of weather. Enjoy it. Get your stuff done. I'm going to probably golf. I'm a golfer if you're not aware. I'm probably going to get out and do something outdoors Saturday, not only because it's a sunny delight, but because it's going to be really the last mild day that we may have for a week, over a week. There might be one next Thursday, but Saturday is definitely going to be one of the nicer days over the next week. And then on Sunday, here's that faster progression before noontime, this thing coming into Corpus Christi. So that means Live Oak counties. It's going to be a morning arrival for you. And this is just the initial tip of the proverbial iceberg with the Arctic air moving in. Because I do think as Sunday progresses, we will see some patchy rain in the area. This is probably going to be fairly light rain. And it's not going to be 100% coverage. It's going to be hit and miss, patchy, light rain or drizzle. And temperatures are going to be close to freezing on Monday morning, 7 o'clock in the morning. Just want to do a time check here, again, because this lives on the interwebs forever. It's right now 8:45 p.m. on January the 11th. We're talking January the 15th time frame, Martin Luther King Day at this point. So if you're not watching at the time I just said, you're watching an old recording. Just want to make clear on that because these forecasts can change as new data comes in, which I'm kind of prefacing that right now as we're going to get better data tomorrow. But Martin Luther King Monday, it's going to be cold for the whole day. If you have plans to be going out to do any of the marches that'll be happening, I know we've got one at noon in Corpus Christi. What I've been telling people is to not only dress in layers, but put one more layer on than you think you need, because when you're spending time outside in 30-degree weather with strong north winds and wind chill values in the teens or 20s, that wears on you. That gets cold and it gets very raw feeling outside. So whenever I play golf and it's really cold in the morning for a couple hours, I always put on an extra layer, because when you're out for a long time, that cold can get to you. So just my 2 cents on anything happening outside on Monday morning. Back to the rain outlook now. I'm going to not go any farther on the modeling than this point, because I'm not sure the rain outlook is that great in terms of confidence moving forward beyond this time frame. So we do have temperatures in the mid 30s on Monday morning, and this could be trending colder, so keep that in mind. And I do think we have light, patchy rain and drizzle floating around. So now the challenge becomes, well, what falls from the sky? And this is just my attempt at trying to explain what the atmosphere is doing as we go up, right? As we go up in the atmosphere, this is really critical as far as being able to determine and decipher what type of precipitation falls when it's cold out, the winter precipitation type. So you could have sleet, freezing rain, snow, rain, graupel, all these types. And it's a really finite forecast because a lot is very nuanced as you go up. So this is what the temperature profile is forecast to look like as of right now. We don't have the higher resolution data yet, so this was based on the 12Z GFS run from today. If you're a weather weenie, you're wondering what we're doing here, that's where I'm getting this information looking up in the atmosphere. And we'll start at the surface. The surface looks to be close to freezing, but slightly above freezing at this point. A little thin layer of slightly below freezing air, like 30, 31, 32, about 1,000 feet up in the atmosphere. And then above that, another very thick layer of about 10,000 feet of above freezing air. So we've got a really deep, warm column of air over top of us, with the exception of that thin 1,000 foot level freezing layer. Then after that, you go up to the below freezing part of the atmosphere, and it's dry, very dry above 12,000 feet. The snow growth region, that's between 12C and 18C on the temperatures Celsius, and that part of the atmosphere is bone dry. There will not be snow up there, so that eliminates snow from the equation when we're looking at the temperature profile according to the GFS model on Monday morning. The question now becomes that thin layer of air that we're looking at near the surface, 1,000 feet up. If the higher resolution modeling comes in and it's colder, let's say it's freezing at the surface on Monday morning, that's when we're going to have to start thinking about the possibility of freezing rain. I think we're going to be looking at either a cold rain or pockets of isolated freezing rain. And those, I think, are really the only two types of precipitation that would be on the table, given the lack of moisture in the snow growth region. If we had snow up there and it was melting on the way down, then refreezing, that would be sleet. But at this point, because that little sliver of below freezing air very close to the surface is there, I think that's the threat for freezing rain. So one of two things could happen. It stays above freezing, and that thin layer of air becomes a lot more expansive, so it's a lot more freezing air above the surface. That could lead to the possibility of maybe some freezing rain if the surface temperatures are at or just above freezing. That could happen on things like metallic objects or vehicles. I don't think we'd have much of a road issue at that point. But if the surface starts getting below freezing, again, that's when things start to change. I'm just not ready to jump on board with that, given two things. One, no modeling is saying that right now. And two, I don't have my eyes on higher resolution data yet. The NAM is coming in right now, so I'll look at that between now and our newscast at 10, try to see if I can finagle some stuff on updates there. But this is what it looks like right now according to the data. So the questions we're getting, what about the roads? First off, you need some type of moisture on the road and freezing moisture on the road for there to be problems. And right now, I don't have that in the forecast. But if we trend colder Sunday night, that's where we might start having to look at maybe bridges and overpasses on Monday morning. I'm not saying it's going to be a problem right now. I'm just saying that's something we're going to have to pay attention to as we move into Monday morning. And that's under the assumption that this trends colder and freezing, light freeze on Monday morning, which I also don't have in the forecast. So we do get above freezing Monday afternoon and night. I don't think there's an issue there. And then by Tuesday, at this point, I think that the rain chance is done. But in the event that we do still have some lingering stuff, that's when we would have to look at Tuesday morning as well. And then I was thinking about, okay, well, worst case scenario, let's say it drops to freezing Monday morning, Martin Luther King Day. Everyone's off. The government's off. Schools are off. If it had to happen, that would be the ideal time for freezing rain or whatever to happen. So that's where we are with that part of the forecast. Now I want to focus on what happens after Monday morning, because Tuesday morning, Monday night into Tuesday morning, and then again Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. These are the mornings of January 16th and 17th. I think that pretty much the entire area is going to be in line for a hard freeze, with maybe the exception of the islands. But I think the islands are also at risk for a hard freeze also if they end up verifying at the low end of the range I have put on the map here, 28 to 33 on the extreme coastal and island locations. So I think we could see easily mid-20s in Corpus Christi, and I think we could see a few spots in the teens in the brush country or to the north and western parts of our viewing area. So that's how it looks. I mean, these obviously can change. They can get adjusted. On the trend perspective, the trend has been to be colder. So, we'll adjust with the data, but at this point, prep for a hard freeze on Monday night, Tuesday morning, and then again Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. And these could be 8 to 12 hours, 6 to 10 hours. These are going to be longer duration freezes, and that's not just going to briefly touch 32 and then go back up like a touch and go landing, right? We're going to be down there for a while. So, and Monday morning also not completely certain that it won't freeze. We're going to be close on Monday morning too. So that's how it looks to me right now. Again, this is a hand-drawn, this is just me saying this is how it looks. That white line's the temperature, and then you see the ranges on the left there. So that's a forecast white temperature line on the map with the duration of the freezes labeled there under those times. I'm going to pull these maps up now. Not maps, I guess, but they're just checklists. We talked about this yesterday about the pipes. I do think that pier and beam homes, you're going to have to think about it, a little more carefully than a slab foundation home. And I think everyone's going to have to cover up exposed piping given the hard freeze outlook. So if you've got an exterior or exposed pipe, you want to cover that up, take the hose off, drain the hose, and cover the spigots up. Inside the home, if you are going to drip, again, I don't think this is a foundation issue, but I do think if you have a pier and beam, you probably should be thinking about a slow drip on the faucet that is farthest away from your water source. That's a big messaging that a lot of water departments are talking about, because the slow drip preserves some of the pressure when everyone starts dripping their faucets. And when the pressure drops, you can have problems. And the water departments had issues with this in the freeze in February 2021. I'm not saying this is going to be the likes of that. I don't think so. But they started seeing these problems happen with that event. So it's being encouraged that slow dripping one faucet is done. You can also open cabinets with piping, help get that warmer airflow against the pipes. Know where your water shutoff is in the event you have to shut it off and maybe a pipe bursts, so you don't have flooding all over your house. And if you're going to be out of town, I know we've got 3-day weekend for some. If you're going to be out of town, maybe just think about shutting the water off and draining the pipes, and you won't have to worry about it at all. If you have a pool, make sure that it's either winterized, your equipment, or your pipes are drained there. And then the irrigation systems, those can also freeze, not necessarily underground, but where the exposed pipes are, or even if water's caught in the sprinkler head, you can see that start to freeze. And when water freezes, it expands, and that's why you get the pipe issues there with freezing weather. Plants, cover them up, can water them now. That kind of helps guard against freeze damage, but bring them inside, cover them, and make sure that covering goes all the way to the ground. If the wind's getting under that, it really doesn't matter. You got to have it insulated that way. And if they do die, then just wait to tend to the damage, till March or April on the plants. For pets, inside or sheltered with a source of heat and comfort outside. Maybe a doghouse, you've got like a lamp in there for heat. Okay, that's one thing. I know you can get cited for it, and it's illegal to have them out when it's really cold. If it's same thing as when we're walking the dogs in the summer, right? If it's too hot for your hands and feet to be barefoot, it's too hot for them. So that same rule applies during the winter. And another tip is if you have a car that's parked outside overnight, sometimes, and let's say you come home from work like me after 10 o'clock, I leave the car out. Sometimes animals will find that warmer engine, climb up in there. You won't know it. You start it the next morning and it's not good. So you want to check that before starting on a cold morning with respect to like animals trying to get in there. So we're going to wrap this up now. It's almost 9 o'clock. We've been on this for 30 minutes. Thank you if you've watched for more than a few minutes. I hope this was helpful in your planning. But tomorrow, windy. Friday will be windy. Isolated power outages possible. Elevated fire danger with the dry winds and a high of 64. Could have some gusts of 50 to 55 miles per hour. That is significant to say the least. Saturday looks good. Enjoy the sunny delight, high up around 70 degrees. Will be chilly Saturday morning, near 40, but beautiful in the afternoon. Then that Arctic air arrives on Sunday, and it's trending earlier. It's possible it gets in before noon, and that's why I've got that temperature, arrow down on the map on Sunday. It's going to be a weird day because your app only gives you a high and a low for the day, and Sunday's high is going to be like 60 something, but that happens at 12:01 a.m. Sunday's low is going to be happening at 11:59 p.m. into Monday morning, and that's probably going to be in the mid 30s. So, I put the temperatures on for the morning temperature and the afternoon high temperature. 34, I've got us on Martin Luther King Monday morning. That's the low Monday morning. And again, that could get a little colder with the newest data coming in, which I'm really antsy to see because right when I get off of here, I'm going to go check it out. It will be here by then. And then we stay maybe under 40 through next Wednesday afternoon with a couple of hard freezes there on Tuesday morning and Wednesday morning. One other note, forgot to mention this, the wind chill values, when those temperatures are in the mid 20s, the wind chill values are going to be in the teens, if not single digits. So it's going to be cold for sure. And you just got to be ready for it and dress in layers. If you got to be outside, like the Martin Luther King Day March, dress in layers and then put one bonus one on. If you're going to be out for, more than walking the dog or something like that. If you're going to be out in the walk for a few hours, dress in layers. You can always take them off. So I'm going to wrap this up now. Hopefully that was helpful. And, we're going to try to refine this forecast as best we can moving forward. Got an hour until 10 o'clock, and I'm going to go prep the graphics for that. Thank you so much for logging on. We'll be checking back in with y'all periodically.